All right. Welcome, Eva. It's such a pleasure to have you here. We've been speaking for a while, and finally I got you on my podcast. You're so welcome to be here. How are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm doing great. Pretty busy week, but happy to be here and share some more about what we do at Slice.
Yes. You are the managing director at Slice. Is that correct? Can you
Exactly.
tell me a bit more about what does Slice do? What services do you offer, please?
Sure. So we are basically a DApp, maybe the largest DApp ad network at the moment. We do offer programmatic ads for Web3 projects and specifically targeting users according to their on-chain activity. So not necessarily just general banner ads, but instead more hyper-targeted and focused on Web3 user base and Web3 on-chain activity.
Okay. So what are the type of clients? Who do you serve, basically? Who are your clients?
I would say at the moment, and I think it's for most, not even programmatic networks, but even marketing agencies, DeFi protocols, DeFi projects tend to have larger budgets, but also a bigger need to acquire users quickly. So any DeFi protocols, even B2C products or B2B products, they tend to be our most common customer, as well as real world assets. So we've seen a big increase in that industry as well the last few months, more activity there. But overall, DeFi is like number one at the moment.
I see. And when we talk about that your network is mostly Web3, where are
Mm.
most of your partners, basically, where you showcase those ads? What are those platforms?
So we do wallets, DEXs, any aggregators, any platforms where you can find data, where users connect their wallets. Those are our publishing partners at the moment.
I see. A lot of people in the Web3, when we try to run ads in the Web3 domain, none of the Web2 websites work there. So there's a restriction in almost any platform. So this
Mhm.
is where your companies come in, and really solve the issue of ads and really make them very targeted to the Web3 audience, which makes just the ROI much better, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
But the biggest problem that I'm having in the web user acquisition, the Web3 domain, is that there's so much botted activity and there's so much people who provide traffic services. But a lot of this traffic is very botted, just like in the Web2, there's nothing
Mhm.
very different. It's always been that way. People sell traffic. So I'm just wondering, what do you guys do to ensure that the users that you send are, authentic and legit users that can really drive real, use cases and use for the
Mhm.
products that you're driving ads?
Yeah, that's the truth of the industry, the bodied activity. And generally speaking, overall Web2 banner ads tend to have this low intent user base usually. So in Web2, they're used more for branding purposes. In Web3, currently they're used in between, which means acquiring new users, just having banner ads would be your go-to solution. You need to combine that campaign with other concepts or other attempts as well. So that's why I always recommend multiple marketing attempts, not just one thing, because that doesn't work in Web3, mostly because there's so much noise. And when it comes to not only we have so much noise from a lot of different projects, but we also have a lot of fake noise, right? Botted users. So what we do is we have our own segmentation and our own analytics tools when it comes to attribution, and we can control from our publishers any suspicious activities happen sometimes and without them wanting to, even though they have in place certain tools to avoid bot activity, it still happens. It's one of these problems that we have in the industry. So the only thing we can do as platforms is to very closely track all of our campaigns, track all of our publisher network, make sure that there's no weird botted sudden activity, even on the clicks or impressions, right? Because it can be both sides. It can be a sudden botted activity on very high clicks suddenly on a campaign, or on the other end, just extremely high number of impressions for one region from one ID. So we do have our own internal integrations that help us track that type of botted behavior and exclude that from the reports, right? So remove that type of fake activity so the customer doesn't have to pay for fake impressions or fake clicks, right? So that's the solution currently. It's still really tough. It takes a lot of manual checking and manual reports from our end, but it's like, work in progress, as I say.
Yeah, definitely. At least you have those things in place to make
Hmm.
sure you control the traffic. Others sometimes don't. So this is where basically it becomes a little bit dangerous running traffic ads because you don't know what to expect. So it's good to have that you guys have put some, strategies in place to make sure you can ensure the highest quality of users for your clients. You did touch upon a couple of different type of campaigns. They talk about like traffic campaigns, static image campaigns. Can you tell us what is the best, what is the most ideal kind of efficient campaign that you would advise a client? How many different campaigns? What is the structure of the campaigns? What really works best from your expertise and what you're seeing your clients do right now? Maybe you can give us some alpha on what is
Of
the
course.
best working strategies right now.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to share this because I feel like when it comes to programmatic ads in the space, they are not used properly from companies, mostly because they lack a marketing leader inside their teams. So usually they just do the bare minimum, which is here are the banners, upload the banners around the campaign without any connection or consistency with any other marketing attempts. For example, if you're running KOL campaigns or if you're running any other social media campaigns, those need to be aligned fully with your banner ad campaigns, right? Incentivization on the banners, it's the easiest way to get activity. So that's one. It's still like that in the industry. So I would recommend two things. Try one campaign incentivized for those users that want the reward. And they try another campaign which is more Web 2.5 focused for any new users that are entering the space. And at the same time, after you run these two campaigns, pause and retarget. So on our dashboard, you can retarget activities. So if someone has already engaged or clicked on your banner, you can retarget that user through their wallet. And this way you can get even better results and also improve maybe retention rates. So that's what I would usually recommend. Generally speaking, matching your brand image, that's such a basic thing, but I would say 70% of companies, they don't do it, if not more. Yeah. So the brand or messaging from the banner ads is completely different than the messaging on social media because they have this idea that we're going to test a lot of things out and maybe see what works. But that's not how it works. It's like you have a messaging, you have a goal, you want to this specific action to be done by your user. So match, like be consistent on the messaging. But it's Web3. Everyone is testing things out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's what I would recommend. Consistency is key, and it's something that no one speaks a lot about it. We always talk about creativity or doing things outside of the box, but no one says, there is a playbook in Web2. Try to use some of those key strategies and then include some Web3 also in it. That's what I would recommend.
I see. Thank you for that. Definitely, I would agree with the fact that most of the campaigns that are being run in this industry are not. There's like not a wholesome strategy covering all different ends. And even sometimes I find myself in a place that that all our campaigns are not connected. So they definitely be to keep on driving the same user funnel, the same goals. And yeah, I see similarly many companies just doing exactly that. I was just wondering, what type of conversions can we drive through programmatic ads? Is it only brand awareness, or are we actually able to track much more through your platforms? What kind of metrics can we be tracking, and what kind of KPIs and results?
Definitely you can track the basic things, right? You can track the clicks, you can track the wallet activity. So what is this user, or what type of wallet is this user coming from? And then of course, any acquisition. So any conversions that you're getting, you can also track it through our dashboard and analytics tools. It's a live the dashboard, which helps a lot. And also, of course, countries and display where you're displaying this ad. Is it mobile? Is it desktop? And what type of desktop even? So it's like that granular. So that's a little bit more about it. And then, as I said, you can reuse all that information and retarget, which is really, really good. Additionally, you can also use your own wallet address list. So if you have a list of wallets that you want to target, you can do that also through our dashboard, which can help and also give you a better, higher chance of activating maybe older users as well.
I see. It's a very interesting approach over here. So you two have a very powerful, like this AI algorithm on the back end of your product. Let's say if you're inputting all of those wallets to really trace them and see where potentially are they active. How does that work? Do you have some? I know it's a bit slightly technical question, right? It's just out of interest, How does it?
Yes, it's a very good question. I asked also our product team all the time. I have an idea how it works. I don't know technically all the coding behind it. The integration that we have in place with our publishers allows us to do that type of granular targeting and granular segmentation. And that's where we compete with most ad networks. Obviously, we compete on the list of publishers. That's number one. That's why most of us, we're very secretive about it. We have NDAs in place, and it's a weird industry at the moment. We're still competing too much instead of collaborating. I wish we would collaborate a little bit more. But yeah, the secret sauce is integration. I think that's the most techy part of it as well, the proper integration, and then how your ad network operates. So how quickly your ads respond through that integration to the publisher side, right? How quickly, the latency, as we call it. And then other like smaller technical details that I don't know about, but they're definitely very cool.
Yeah, definitely. I just remembered another thing that you mentioned, that you can actually have a clear breakdown of the geolocations of those users, and you can do some geo-targeting of specific areas. So I just wanted to know, how deep can I do the targeting, basically? Because what my biggest problem as a Web3 marketeer is that sometimes I tend to target wallets, but I don't really know where they are geographically. I don't have a lot of information on let's say, on what it really costs. When I was working in the Web2 space, I had a better understanding of what each region and each kind of niche market costs. Sometimes some companies are able to offer me more insights, sometimes not. Interested to see that is this information is something you guys also give to give your clients a better understanding of what budget it takes to target specific areas, specific conversions, how much a download of a wallet costs in a specific region. Please tell me more. What kind of data do you actually have on those details?
Yes, that is a really good question, and it's a tough question. It's not an easy question to answer, mostly because everything goes back to the product, right? And that's what it's always like the chicken or the egg kind of question. So what we tell users is make sure your overall product flow is proper. It's easy. It's easy for the user to be converted once they're on the landing page. If it's too complicated, then you're just burning, your own budget. So that's why it's important to make sure your product is ready prior to any campaign launched. In terms of the geos, there we have a bit more data, right? We know that certain audiences, if it's a wallet download, right? In your case, it's easier to target users from cheaper countries, let's say, that the CPM is lower, because at the end of the day, you just want people to download that app, right? You don't care so much if it's a user with very high wallet activity or high amounts or staking or anything like that. It's very, very specific. It's just downloads. So it's easier to do mass targeting on cheaper regions or tier 2 regions, and to decrease your cost per acquisition and overall increase the user base for you. If it's a product that is expensive, for example, we run Trezor campaigns or ledger campaigns, and their product is more expensive. It's not an easy acquisition, right? It's an actual hardware product. So there, obviously the expenses are higher. The cost per acquisition is much higher. So it goes always back to the product and how deep is that funnel? Like how many actions does the user need to take to be converted from your end? But it's still a guessing game most of the time for most projects. I think so far, there are a few that they kind of figured it out, but it's always because the acquisition is overall cheaper, meaning that they don't need to do a lot of activity in order to be converted. Like gaming projects, much cheaper, right, to acquire a gamer. It's very reward driven as well. But then hardware product or a MetaMask campaign, that when they want the user to stake, for example, or to swap, then tougher funnel, right, and higher acquisition costs.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And I think that also the biggest concern, and something you touched upon, is that the user acquisition floor itself is not as easy, and this is just like the biggest problem in Web3 and in the onboarding side, right? Every product is trying to find an easier way to to onboard its users, because we understood that it's 16 years past Bitcoin with 8% adoption rate globally. I think there's something that went wrong there, right? And this makes your work much more difficult, because it's very difficult to really kind of give estimates, exactly as just mentioned. When a client reaches out to you and like, how much they have to spend, it's very difficult to understand, because there's a whole process behind this. So I really understand your trouble. From my side, I always ask those questions, but I really do understand that that's very difficult to answer them when even the companies themselves, they might not know what funnel is the best for them. This is why you keep on experimenting and trying. So yeah, very interesting. That's one of the alphas that's I think that people should be cautious of, right? When they're driving ads, that your user journey is precise, short, and clear. What some other advice would you give companies who are trying to perfect their ad strategy and get better results? Maybe things they should bring their attention to, out of your expertise, through your long years actually of expertise, right, in this field. What can you advise companies?
To simplify their messaging overall, and not only consistent message, but also simpler messaging and more niche, as we call messaging, instead of generic, that can bring any type of user, and consistency, definitely, as I mentioned. What else? I would also recommend to try multiple campaigns in terms of geos initially, especially if it's a new project that they don't even know where they will be the most desired as a product. So to be a bit more broad with their targeting, not hyper focused. Simply simplify your messaging, be consistent though with other, channels, and then at the same time, broad outreach initially before you get like proper data, and then retarget. That's like the main. It's really tough also. If I have an example of what type of project, it's easier. But I feel like every Web3 project is like an entire niche in itself, right? On what countries, what type of user base, like persona you should target, or what type of chain activity, like which chain is this user the most active on. So every product is like its own little microcosm, and you need to create like a very specialized or very curated strategy for each one. I mean, it is what it is at the moment.
Indeed. I find that a lot of products and projects actually they lack some type of navigation in terms of their
Mhm.
goals and clear KPIs, right? Products want just, global adoption and the growth of their token, but it's not how you get it. I mean, first make sure you have a good use case, people actually
Mhm.
need the product, really drive that organic growth and not go down the route of, this hype marketing narrative, which I think right now is failing.
Mm.
No matter what you do, just spend on ad spend and KOLs without the real use case. From my perspective, it's completely burning money.
Mhm.
And some companies are just maybe stuck sometimes. They're still in the process of development, so they do that. And it never works, I think. So I think it's very important to have clear KPI. I'm not sure if you would agree with that also. And
Mhm.
clear, just to figure out what your mine KPIs, driving downloads of your wallet, and do that consistently. I think you would advise better. What is the best time frame for
100%.
running a campaign, like consistently to see
Mm.
good results? Because sometimes people tend to kind of run for a shorter time frame and maybe don't see results very fast. So what is the most efficient time frame for running a campaign until you actually see, or until you actually have enough
Results?
data to analyze if that worked or didn't?
Exactly. I like that approach better because like results, even again, are driven from project to project. Definitely KPIs are key, right? And the truth is that most projects, when they come for a campaign, they have zero KPIs. They're just trying things out. They don't even know what they want to get out of this. So then when the campaign is over and you're like, how was that for you? They just don't even know what feedback to give you because they had no
Yeah.
KPIs in the first place. So I always ask expectations, like what are you expecting from this campaign, so we can see how we can set it up in a way that it lasts long enough for you to see results. So I would say a month campaign, it's a pilot campaign. So just to test things out and see what works. And then it has to be a 3-month campaign to actually have proper data, KPIs, and also start growing that, whatever you're building, right? Growing that user base from month to month. So it's not going to be, we test things out and magically things happen. It's going to be more, we try the first pilot month, see what works best, and then retarget, recreate better campaigns, and we start having clear results and KPIs, and also enough data to take educated decisions for the next campaign. Most companies, though, they're like, here is my 20K. I want to use it in 5 days. Do your magic, right? It doesn't work like that. It's, burn it. They burn it. Exactly.
I also understand you offer the full service, right? When the client comes your way,
Mhm.
you really sit down, you really analyze basically what are the end goals, and you help them figure out the best strategy to spend this money, right? Because I think this is
Mhm.
the key element here, because the whole strategy behind what you're doing and the user journey and the user flow. So I understand your team also offers this service.
Yeah, full service. We have account managers, we have data analysts, we have design marketing as well to help them design the proper banners. And then we offer additional services as well if they need support on their content for their socials or KOLs or anything else, paid media, whatever they need to support their journey. We offer like a full stack marketing support, but definitely our ad networks are our number one kind of service at the moment, but full stack for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Sounds cool. Just wanted to take your maybe last insight into how is this industry going to be developing? Do you
Mm.
think in terms of a lot of AI is being merged into all
Mhm.
possible tools? And I'm just looking at your industry, programmatic ads. What do you see happening there with adding AI to those services? You might be already doing
Mhm.
that at Slice. I don't know. You tell us. And what is the
Mhm.
future going to look like?
I think the AI concept or element will be more on the reporting side and data analysis side. And it's already happening, right? We use different type of algorithms to analyze on-chain data. It's still messy. We're still testing things out. Whoever says that they figured it out, they're lying. No one has figured it out. We're all just testing things and models out. I think long term, we're going to see more what we call ownership ads, which means the user that engage is actually owning part of that ad network or ad commission instead of one person winning everything, right? And so we will see more what we call an ad that engages the user or engage to earn ads, because it's the way that the industry is built, and because Web2 has created this concept that the user is just kind of used to to extract from them. And so Web3 is we're breaking and we're trying to do something different, which is not only extracting value constantly from the user, but instead sharing part of it. So I think this is what we're going to see more.
It's definitely interesting, and I'm looking forward to see what the future brings there, because I think so much value can be given back to the users, and just just the whole experience of when you merge more AIs into the marketing, I think it's just going to become much more efficient for the companies in terms of ad spend, and ROI, but one at the same time very efficient for the end user, just because it's going to be much more targeted, beneficial, and my feed will not be polluted with things that I'm not interested in.
Exactly.
So looking forward to see what the future brings. Any last words from your end to somebody, a company who's out there who's not using their marketing budget efficiently, how you can benefit them at Slice?
They can reach out to us. We, as I said, do complete full cycle support, from setting up the campaigns for them to analyzing the reports for them and helping them retarget. I think it's important before you decide your budget to have a clear strategy on what you're trying to achieve from these campaigns, except more token holders, right? Because that's the number one. They want more token holders. So have a clear strategy on long-term acquisition, and then use that budget accordingly and spread it around different markets, but don't kind of try everything out at once. Consistency and a branding image that matches all channels, and that's it. We'll be happy to support them and help them to target the right audience. I think it's important to also understand the audience before you set up these campaigns. Who is your ideal customer or ideal on-chain user? And after that, we can set everything up for them and help them launch a successful campaign.
Wonderful. So please do reach out to Eva from Slice. Eva, I thank you for your time. Really, I enjoyed this talk so much. You got so much alpha. So appreciate you taking the time to speak to me, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much.